In this video, we'll be analyzing how Persona 5 uses the theme of rebellion in all aspects. As such, it will be split into sections of story and gameplay analysis. If you would prefer to only listen to one over the other, time codes have been provided for your convenience. The story sections are told from a second-person perspective in order to better immerse you in the themes of the story, while gameplay sections are from a third-person perspective in order to better analyze specific systems. Mild spoiler warning. This video contains spoilers for the first 3 palaces of Persona 5 Royal. Content warning. This video discusses Persona 5 Royal in great detail. It therefore contains some themes that some audiences might find disturbing or upsetting. Please see the on-screen warning for more details. You almost escaped, at least as far as you recalled. A massive group of guards was outside, armed and waiting for you. You didn't stand a chance. Thrown to the ground, beaten, and drugged, the police interrogator made sure you knew your place. The kitty gloves were off. No one was coming to save you. He hands you something to sign, telling you that one must accept responsibility for all their actions. You sign. Then you are left in the room, beaten, half slumped in the chair. Sometime later, someone comes to visit named Sai Nijima. She tells you that anything could happen here, and that she would not be able to protect you from it. Therefore, time is of the essence, and her time is short, so it would be best if you told her your true story, starting from the very beginning. In that moment, you hear a voice that seems familiar to you. The voice tells you that you are held captive, a prisoner to a fate that's been sealed in advance. They beg you to please overcome this game and save the world. They tell you that the key to victory lies in the memories of your bonds, the truth you and your friends grasped, and that for the sake of the world's future and your own, you must remember. Recall your bonds. But in your mind, all your companions' faces were hidden. Tell from the very beginning. What even got you into this mess in the first place? Yeah, right. It could only be that day. The day you became a criminal.
Please help!
Damn brat! I'll sue!
In that moment, there was no other action to take. That woman was in danger. You couldn't just stand by and watch. But you weren't quite a hero that day, were you? That man used his power to turn the tables on you. The victim testified against you, and you were accused of assault. You merely stood up for what's right, but those around you, your school, your parents, they shipped you off as a violent inconvenience to serve your probation. Your new guardian said as much. The end message from him is that you stuck your nose where it didn't belong, and that from now on, you need to stick to yourself and keep out of trouble. But that night, when you went to sleep, you would see something strange. Where you are exists between dream and reality, mind and matter. You are introduced to those that attend this room. You have the 2 wardens, Justine and Caroline, along with its master, a man with a very long nose named Igor. Apparently, this place is a prison, and the attendants appear as jailers, because this place reflects the state of your own heart. You are therefore a prisoner, even within your own heart. He calls you a prisoner of fate. He claims this fate to be of ruin. To that end, he says you must be rehabilitated towards freedom. He then asks you if you have the resolve to challenge the distortions of this world. As long as you do not decline, he will be satisfied with your answer, and you have no reason to fully decline his offer. And with that, you are soon ushered out of this place into the waking world. You begin to reflect on your experience there. The strange man in that room called you a prisoner. A prisoner, even within your own heart. Only fitting, you're a criminal here, waiting out a probation for something you didn't do. He also spoke of ruin. Was this the thing you were encouraged earlier to save the world from? But he didn't give you much information to work with on that angle anyways. And school starts soon. It was best that you get on with your day. Remember your bonds. Oh, That was the day, right. It was certainly no ordinary first trip to school. It was the first day you experienced the other world. It is the day you became acquainted with a future friend. It was the day you got to know a true scumbag. It was a day you nearly lost your life. If you didn't act, you could have lost that friend too.
Where'd your energy from earlier go? A peasant like you isn't worth beating. I'll have you killed right now.
You tell him to stop what he's doing.
What? Don't you dare tell me you don't know who I am. That look in your eyes irritates me. Hold him there. After the peasant, it's his turn to die.
No, I don't want to die!
This is truly an unjust game. Your chances of winning are almost none. But if my voice is reaching you, there may yet be a possibility open to you.
What's the matter? Are you simply going to watch? Are you forsaking him to save yourself? Death awaits him if you do nothing. Was your previous decision a mistake then?
That decision was not a mistake.
Very well. I have heeded your resolve. Vow to me. I am thou art I. Thou who art willing to perform all sacrilegious acts for thine own justice. Call upon my name and release thy rage. Show the strength of thy will to ascertain all on thine own, though thou be chained to hell itself.
Execute him!
You call up Kamoshida and say that's enough.
What was that? You desire to be killed that much? Fine.
But you are not ashamed. You made no mistake. Even knowing what you know now, you would still make a stand. You could never abide such complacency. Your spirit of rebellion would never allow it. The key to victory lies in the truth you and your friends grasped. That day, you saved 2 lives, including one with powers much like yours. It seems that you weren't the only one determined enough to make a stand. You were a hero in that moment, but your trip back to reality would reveal that you're still very much a criminal to society. It hasn't even been a day, and everyone seemingly already knows. As you walk around, they act with fear, seemingly afraid that you will lash out at them at any moment. It seems your new friend Ryuji's situation isn't much better. The teachers all tell you to stay away from him, that he's a bad influence. Being caught with him only increases the teacher's suspicion that you were playing hooky. Unfortunately, you can't find a way to defend your actions earlier, because who would rightfully believe that you were at a castle? The best you can do is simply say you got lost. Afterwards, you head straight home to get yelled at by your guardian. He's mad about how late you are. Much like at school though, you can't offer a legitimate explanation. Only that you got lost. After he finally relents, you go straight to your bed, exhausted from this crazy day. As your consciousness drifts away, you find yourself again in that strange room. The room is just like it was last night, and the man with the long nose is there waiting for you. He tells you that your rehabilitation can finally begin. This is because he seems to have noticed the new power you gained earlier. He calls it a persona. He described it as a mask, or in other words, an armor of the heart when confronting worldly matters. It manifested from your spirit of rebellion. It was your means to defy those who would abuse their power. But there are still many questions he refused to answer for the moment. So you were not able to glean exactly what he meant by that, or what rehabilitation is exactly. Your mind casts back to your previous encounter with him. Rehabilitated towards freedom, Are you really a prisoner as such? Is your spirit of rebellion truly weak as such? Still, you have no reason to reject his aid fully. Avoiding this ruin is something you had to do. You had to beat the supposed game. At least, that's what that voice told you. That day after school, you and Ryuji meet. Something was off about that castle, and you can't get it out of your mind. What happened yesterday was no dream. It was something you could not ignore. You and he agree. You must go back. Remember your bonds. When you arrive in the other world, that other creature that you had met, who had already awoken to their persona, was there waiting for you. The mysterious cat, Morgana. He chides you, as you only barely came back with your lives yesterday. But you are determined, as is your friend. So Morgana eventually agrees to aid your investigation. This castle was hiding something. And what is confirmed is what you saw all too briefly yesterday. Morgana explains that this is all a reflection of Kamoshida's disordered heart. Students as slaves who were regularly beaten and abused. Women were exploited and used for his pleasure. If Morgana was right, the rumors about Kamoshida are true. The scumbag you met yesterday is very much reflective of this environment. Ryuji determines that he should memorize the faces of those held captive so he can question them in reality to nail down Kamoshida. The job is completed successfully. However, upon your return to the entrance, you were hit with a surprise attack by Kamoshida's shadow. You and Mona fight with all you have, but you are outnumbered by the cutscene. The key to victory lies in the truth you and your friends grasped.
Damn it. Am I gonna lose again? Not only can I not run anymore, the track team is gone too because of this asshole.
So that's why.
Once these two are dealt with, you're next.
Ryuji!
You call out to Ryuji to fight back.
You're right. Everything that was important to me was taken by him. I'll never get him back.
Stay there and watch. Look on as these hopeless scum die for nothing because they sided with trash like you.
No, that's what you are. All you think about is using people. You're the real scumbag, Kamoshida!
What are you doing? Silence him!
Stop looking down on me with that stupid smile on your face!
You made me wait quite a while. You seek power, correct? Then let us form a pact. Since your name has been disgraced already, why not hoist the flag and wreak havoc? The other you who exists within desires it thus. I am thou, thou art I.
There is no turning back. The skull of rebellion is your flag henceforth!
What can you do? Cower in fear and watch!
Right on. What's up, Persona? This effing rocks! Now that I got this power, it's time for payback! Yo, I'm ready. Bring it!
Don't mock me, you brat!
Blast him away, Captain Kid!
At that moment, Ryuji swallowed his fear and stood up to Kamoshida. He embraced his rebellion. No need to be ashamed. No need to stand back. He would be the rebel he is and stand up to the man who ruined his life. With his help, you're able to drive off your assailants and make your escape. Your bond forged in tribulation and battle, Ryuji agrees to continue working with you to take down Kamoshida. Thus is formed the first of many contracts.
I am thou. Thou art I. Thou hast acquired a new vow. It shall become the wings of rebellion that breaketh thy chains of captivity. With the birth of the chariot persona, I have obtained the winds of blessing that shall lead to freedom and new power.
The day being over, you went to sleep and would find yourself again in that mysterious room. In the room, the man with the long nose tells you of the importance of your bonds with your confidants, and that strengthening them would be key to success with your mission. To emphasize his point, he further suggested that you would need to be prepared to even use himself to your advantage. And so, the second contract is made. You formed your contract with the man in the Velvet Room. His aid would come in handy. Who were you to refuse? The next day, with the help of your new friends, you would go out to question the students who you saw in the palace. Unfortunately, they were all too afraid to be able to give you any useful information. For all your efforts coming to nothing, you go to the break room to commiserate. However, during your conversation, someone unexpectedly pops up. It's Morgana in the form of an actual cat. He suggests that he knows an actual way to deal with Kamoshida. You decide to entertain his idea and take him up to the roof to have a bit more privacy while discussing it. You learn that by using the palaces, you can steal Kamoshida's distorted heart, effectively taking his desire to sin straight from him. However, while Morgana is confident that the method can and will work, he's not entirely certain what other effects stealing those desires might have. He says while it is unlikely, it is entirely possible Kamoshida could die as a result. You and your friend hesitate at this news. While Kamoshida is a scumbag, it doesn't necessarily mean you want to kill him. You decide to think about it for the day and head home. Remember your bonds. On your way home, you find the lady whom you sit beside herself on the subway. You feel compelled to help her out as best you can and figure out what's wrong. You follow her until she finally agrees to talk to you about it.
I don't have anything to talk about with you. It was just an argument.
You ask her if it was with Kamoshida. You notice how stressed she looks.
Thank you very much!
You've heard the rumors, haven't you? About Mr. Kamoshida. Everyone says we're getting it on. But that's so not true. That was him on the other line. I avoided giving him my number for the longest time. He told me to go to his place after this. You know what it means. If I turn him down, he said he'd take my friend off as a regular on the team. I've been telling myself this is all for Shiho's sake. I can't take it anymore. I've had enough of this. I hate him. But still, Shiho's my best friend. She's all I have left in that sorry excuse of a school. Tell me, what should I do? Sorry, I shouldn't have asked. It's not your problem.
An still doesn't know if she made the right decision. But even if it was her friend, she was pushed to a place she should never have to go. Your conversation with her helped her make some peace with the decision she made, but the guilt still remains, and she fears for what might happen to her friend. But none of you could have ever expected what was going to happen next. It is so much worse than even the greatest of your fears. Panic and curiosity oft precede tragedy. It was the same commotion that drew your attention. Students were suddenly gathering around the windows, loudly remarking about what on earth was happening right now. When you look yourself, you see that Shiho is standing on the edge of the roof. An, seeing this as well, rushed down as soon as she could. You and Ryuji follow suit, breaking through the massive crowds of people gathered to see that tragedy themselves. You can only imagine what could have drove Shiho to the edge like this, and it's not likely something you'll ever truly know or fully understand. But you don't really need to be told now, do you? You saw how he viewed women in his castle. It's all too obvious what he did after Anne rejected him. He's the king of this castle. He always gets what he wants. And what that monster wanted, what he did, was enough to drive that young girl to a truly hopeless place. The inaction of parents, teachers, and those in power around her drove her to a place where she felt she had no other recourse. Filled with righteous anger, you storm into Kamoshida's office to confront him.
Huh? You bastard! The hell did you do to that girl?
What are you talking about?
Don't play dumb with me!
That is enough!
What you did wasn't coaching.
What did you say?
You ordered me to call Suzui here. I can only imagine what you did to her.
You're going on and on about things you have no proof of. Basically, you're simply making these claims because you can't be a regular on the team, right?
That's not what this is about!
Even if it is exactly as you imagine it to be, hypothetically speaking, what can you do? We just received a call from the hospital. Suzui's in a coma, and her chances of recovery are slim. How would someone like that make a statement? There's no chance of her getting better, I hear. Oh, the poor girl.
No. That can't be. God damn!
This again? Does this mean we need to have yet another case of self-defense?
You shut your mouth, you son of a bitch! Why are you stopping me?
You tell Ryuji to not let Kamoshida get to him.
But still!
Oh, you're stopping him? What a surprise. There's no need to hold back. Why not attack me? Oh, you can. But of course you can. Everyone present right now will be expelled. I'm reporting all of you at the next board meeting.
Left with the threat of suspension and a feeling of disgust, you and Ryuji agree to Morgana's proposal. It's worth the risk. Kamoshida needs to go down, no matter the cost, before he's able to hurt any more people. However, as you approach the castle, you are followed by one more, An. After seeing what happened to her friend, she cannot stand idly by anymore. You attempt to escort her out of the metaverse for her own safety, but she finds her own way back in eventually, and upon wandering into the castle, she's mistaken for its princess and promptly captured. You rush to aid her, only to find Kamoshida is already there and threatening her life if you step even a single inch forward. And while being tortured by Kamoshida, you can see An guilting herself for the fate of her friend. The key to victory lies in the truth you and your friends grasped.
Is this my punishment for what happened to Shiho?
That's more like it. You should have looked like this from the start.
Shiho, I'm so sorry.
You ask An if she really is going to just stand there and listen to this.
Huh? No, I don't want that. You're right. Letting this piece of shit toy with me? What was I thinking?
It's like I always say, slaves should just behave and...
Shut up! I've had enough of this. You pissed me off, you son of a bitch!
My, it's taken far too long. Tell me, who is going to avenge him if you don't? Forgiving him was never the option. such is the scream of the other you that dwells within. I am thou, thou art I. We can finally forge a contract.
I hear you, Carmen. You're right. No more holding back.
There you go. Nothing can be solved by restraining yourself. Understand? Then I'll gladly lend you my strength.
You know what? I'm not some cheap girl you can toy with, you scumbag.
Bitch!
You stole everything from Shiho. You destroyed her. Now it's your turn. I will rob you of everything!
How dare you! Enough of your insolence!
No, I've had enough of you. No one's gonna stop me now. Let's go, Carmen!
It was no time to sit back and lament. She embraced her rebellion and fought back against the man who was truly responsible. She would rob him of everything, just like he did to Shiho. With An exhausted from her awakening, you agree to retreat for now. But at An's insistence, she joins her group as well. You shake hands on it, forming your third contract. Morgana pipes up as well. He wants to stick with the group too, but he's going to need a place to stay. So you offer him your own home and take him with you. Once you arrive there, Morgana reaffirms his motivation to help, as he has his own mission too. As long as you help him retrieve his memory, he will aid you, and you strike a deal with him as well, forming your final contract for that night. These and more become your wings of rebellion to break your chains of captivity. They would lead you to freedom and new power. They were your confidants, your trusted friends and allies. With their help secured, the only thing left to do is to take Kamoshida down before the deadline. It's up to you to decide when and how. And so starts the quest of the righteous Phantom Thieves. All of them have their reasons for joining. The most common among them is the desire to get back at the society that so wronged them and those they loved, to steal back that which was taken, to take down those that would abuse their power. For An and Ryuji, this one is personal in many ways. This man ruined their lives and the lives of their friends. This is much a quest for revenge as it is any semblance of justice. Morgana's motivations isn't any less selfish. He's here to restore his memories, to come to an understanding of what he is, to know that he is truly human. And Joker, well, that color is for you to decide. This is the new intro for Persona 5 Royal, Colors Flying High. and it makes a fascinating contrast with the original intro, Wake Up, Get Out There. However, their goals aren't all that different, as both reflect what the developers want you to think and have in mind considering the endings of their respective games. To avoid having to play two Persona intros back to back, let me quickly go through the relevant lyrics to Wake Up, Get Out There. Who am I? Am I not unique? Maybe I'm not here at all. Look at all these fakers, blinding us with lies, the breaking of us all. Oh, it's useless? What could it mean? That we are here? That we can make a difference? If we don't break out of here? Wake up, get out there. Raise your voice against liars. Feed your anger like fire. Why does nobody want change? Just imagine you're out there swatting lies in the making. Can't move fast without breaking. If you hold on, life won't change. Colors Flying High is more about making your own convictions and sticking to them, even when it becomes inconvenient or unclear if you can or should do so. To keep your colors and convictions flying high, which is a fundamental principle for the new ending to the game. Wake up, get out there is a rebuke of complacency, the primary thing the original Persona 5 abhorred above all else. Not to say Royal doesn't abhor it too, but this song is there to encourage you to hold on to those convictions, whatever they may be, and to understand what you fought for in the first place, because in the future, it might get a bit hazy, and you might forget the importance of the freedom you fought for. To not just wake up, get out there, but to understand why you did it and stay true to that. Thankfully, even though Royal does remove the original intro, the main song it was meant to complement is still very much there, and it has been built on even more, though we will get to the additional building in future videos that cover later parts of the game. But we'll get to the analysis of the main song a little bit later. For now, let's talk about the UI of the game, and then we'll return to talking about Kamoshida. One of the more interesting aspects of Atlus as a company is that they tend to give a much higher priority to style in their UI elements than almost any other company currently in the business. As a result, this company's design ethos for UI in Persona and Metaphor, by extension, is some of the most unique UI I have ever seen. On a more structural level, Persona 5 and Metaphor share a lot in terms of their menu styling and design ethos. When we compare the two, we can see how the theming, though, affects how they are displayed, despite the similarity in design. Persona 5's menus, in general, are awash in reds and blacks. In a general sense, Persona games are fairly color-coded, with 3 being blue, 4 being yellow, and 5 being red. Metaphor, even though it doesn't pick a singular color, is interestingly enough still coded in such a way, but except in this case, it's more of a watercolor brush stroke motif that's everywhere, instead of a dedication to a singular color. Besides the red and black color palette, it also uses a lot of sharply angled shapes in all of its selection boxes, to the point of there almost not being a single perfectly horizontal or vertical line in the entire game's UI. Now, you'll notice even among the footage I'm showing, this is not entirely unique to Persona 5. In some senses, this is something Atlus does across games. However, it is brought to an extra extreme in Persona 5, where it is almost unwilling to have a single one present anywhere. Whereas those games that do have some slanted lines are willing to have a perfectly horizontal line in some places. Just about the only place you will find a perfectly horizontal line in Persona 5 is in the subtitles, which should never be slanted like this for accessibility reasons. However, even when it comes to dialogue, they do something unique with the choices, opting to use a single shifting white box that never stays in a singular place to highlight those choices. The general move selection menu is also straight up iconic, with every option being spread out in wild directions, boldly displaying what tack you can pick from the standard menu. This is wildly different from most RPGs. It is true that these UIs aren't 100% picked out for thematic reasons. Atlus is known as a company that loves style, so it tends to be a bit of a company signature to make their games very stylish. this appears to some extent in all their games. But we can differentiate between what is style and what is theming by looking at Metaphor ReFantazio and Persona 5. They are very different thematically, but the UIs are similar functionally. So Persona 5 picks a style that's both sharp and bold, like Rebellion, so lots of reds, as it is a very aggressive color often used to portray more violent emotions. Reds and blacks are very good for contrast in design, and black is often associated with shadows, darkness, etc. So it fits the theme of the thieves. Then it uses a lot of sharply distinct shapes. These more angular, distinct shapes feel less uniform to the eye, and their slanted nature makes them feel pointed. Rebellion contrasts against uniformity, so the uneven designs work to portray that. And you can see that perfectly horizontal or vertical lines are avoided wherever it makes sense. Obviously not everywhere, but generally they try to give everything at least a slight slant, as they do not want to have a uniform, straight line. The general selection menus also use a lot of bold, striking images for their transitions for the characters, usually taking dynamic poses between menu transitions, and the transitions usually convey a sense of action. But it isn't necessarily unique to Persona 5 anymore. Atlus has adapted this for a lot of their games in its lineage. For other aspects of the game, it's themed around the Phantom Thieves themselves. For example, the days advance with a knife sticking into the day. When you send out a calling card, you will see it thrown directly into that calendar day. Text is organized like cutout letters from the calling cards. Even text boxes always include one letter highlighted in a different color for this reason. Now, you'll see that all these elements we've been talking about are different for Metaphor ReFantazio. And we could go more into the exact reasons why they're different, as there are thematic reasons for its design, but this is not a video about that game, so we'll return to Persona 5 for now. Now let's return to Kamoshida and talk a little bit about the design of his palace, what it means, what it suggests, though this one is very obvious. The devs are less than subtle about the lust connection. The primary thing they are working off is the idea that this is a castle and that Kamoshida is a pervert and an abuser, so everything in the castle is made to suggest one of those things. Just as well, all the palaces are made to make you feel like this is a heist. So all the palaces are designed like multi-layered secured structures that you have to pick apart. This gives the developers opportunities to layer puzzles around the dungeons and various set pieces based on the theming. For this particular palace, it's kept very simple, as this palace is more tutorial than anything else. So the puzzles in this dungeon are more about teaching you how the third eye works, rather than any other actual problem solving. Because it will be important to be able to tell certain elements of puzzles apart, since sometimes it blends in with the scenery. This is the primary reason this mechanic exists after all, to make it clear what is an interactive object and what is scenery. One of the more interesting things about this being a tutorial palace is that it is one of the only palaces with a complete throwaway section that isn't connected to the progression of the rest of the palace. This is actually fairly clever on the developer's part, as they can have all these parts happen in the tutorial in a different section of the palace, and once the player finally has free reign to do things as they please, they can follow the natural progression of the palace as a whole, rather than also having it partially done for them while they don't have control. It also makes things less repetitive, since if they had used these earlier sections as part of the dungeon proper, it would have resulted in unnecessary backtracking. The song of the palace is also of interest. It is the one currently playing. Anyways, it's more focused on a stealthy mood. I feel like the song was primarily meant as a thematic introduction to the mechanics of the game for the player. Get them in the mode of a stealthy thief, because as we see with the other palaces, they are much more location themed than this one. This theme doesn't really belong in a castle per se, though it's not like it doesn't fit. But this one's more of a general breaking into a secret place vibe than a castle vibe. I've seen some people say it's connected to lust or a sexy vibe, but last time Persona did that, they were far less subtle about it, so I'm not sure about that. Yeah, so Anyways, but I'm not denying it could have been an inspiration, as it does have a bit of a funky beat. For Royal in particular, they introduced two major mechanics to palaces, one being will seeds and the other being the grapple hook. The grapple hook is a mixture of things. One is a design convenience. It makes it easier to design secrets in the level since you don't have to have them necessarily be connected cleanly in the geometry of the level. It's also a vibe thing, as grapple hooks do go a long way in making you feel like a thief breaking into a palace and getting into places you shouldn't be, as it is a frequent tool for that type of character. So it fits. And all the palaces have been reworked to include its use. It all goes into making it feel like a natural addition to the game. Will seeds are an addition that were much needed in Royal, as they go a long way in making it so optional routes inside the palaces become more incentivized beyond just chests, as the original game could only really encourage you to go off the beaten path with the chests. Will seeds give an additional incentive in order to give you more reasons to go off the beaten path. Indeed, all the palaces now have more alternate routes than they did in the original game because of this, as well as the desire to add new original content for Royal. They're also interesting thematically, as the whispers can give you a bit of a view into the head of a person as you get to hear their worries or desires echoing through the skull. I'll put a little clip here. Now, let's move on to the general flow of dungeons. So, the flow of a dungeon or palace in a Persona game involves taking multiple days to accomplish the main progression into the dungeon. In the original Persona 5, this is still pretty much true. You're generally not able to finish dungeons in a single day without very efficient play, but in Royal, that isn't necessarily true, because Royal is absolutely lousy with methods to gain SP, which is the major resource being limited during a palace. Because you have more or less infinite SP, it is incredibly easy to complete a palace in only a single day. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it does allow a player to complete more social links, but it does decrease the challenge of the game in comparison to the original version. This is somewhat made up for by the fact that some palaces cannot be completed in a single day due to story events. However, there are only a couple of dungeons that are actually like this. Also, in Persona 5, there is an extra step where you have to send a calling card before fighting the boss. So all dungeons take a bare minimum of 2 days. I think the developers had multiple reasons for putting calling cards in as a story mechanic. One, it formalizes a common pattern among players. Many players will go through a dungeon, then specifically escape right before the final boss, so they can fight it fresh, as it is a more challenging encounter that usually requires you to be in your best shape. Formalizing this as part of the gameplay formula makes this behavior feel more naturally in tune with the game, and prevents more green players from making the mistake of going in underprepared into a boss. It also guarantees to the developers that the player will likely be prepared going into a boss, so they can balance them accordingly. However, it is unlikely to be a major sticking point for the developers, as it isn't present for Metaphor ReFantazio. They stick with the same method as Persona 4, and they just warn you before the boss. It could also be that they do like it mechanically, but couldn't think of a consistent narrative justification for including it in Metaphor. Regardless, the second reason we brought up is its more likely reason for its inclusion, that being that it fits the fantasy of a phantom thief, as they usually leave a calling card before they steal a treasure. Anyways, once you send the calling card, the previously mentioned animation of it sticking into the day plays, and it automatically advances to the next day, and shows you a scene of your target noticing the calling card. After this scene, the game will automatically send you into the palace, and the security will be set up to 100%. Everything about the palace will be blaring red, alongside a unique song that only plays during this moment, called Life Will Change. Two particular lyrics in the song reference the original intro to Persona 5, Wake up, get out there. Particularly the lines, "It's not a game, I'm not a robot AI challenging you, I'm not a phantom, I'm in your face, and I'm here to see it through." This represents the lines, "Who am I? Am I not unique? Maybe I'm not here at all. Look at these fakers blinding us with lies, the breakers of us all. Oh, is it useless? What could it mean? That we're here? That we can make a difference if we don't break out of here?" Basically, this is in reference to being out there and being willing to make a change by being simply visible, present, and a unique person who's not simply conforming to the crowd. Another line in the song, "I'm in your face and I'm here to see it through," means they're here to make the rebellion known and that they will see the change of heart through. The next set of lyrics to look at is "Wake up, get out there, raise your voice against liars, feed your anger like fire. Why does nobody want change? Just imagine you're out there, swatting lies in the making, can't move fast without breaking. If you hold on, life won't change." So you know that we're out there, swatting lies in the making, can't move fast without breaking, can't hold on or life won't change, and our voices ring out, yeah, took off the mask to feel free, fought it off in the debris, now we know life will change. This references the lines, "Wake up, get out there, raise your voice against liars, feed your anger like fire, why does nobody want change? Just imagine you're out there, swatting lies in the making, can't move fast without breaking, if you hold on, life won't change." With the intro being the encouragement to do this, and life will change being when they're acting on that earlier encouragement. The second verse of "Life Will Change" brings it all together. "Ain't it a shame I'm not a figment of your alien old mind? I'm just as real as, I'm just as dangerous as you, so you'll know you'll find a taste of your own meds, fire in every breath, fire inside your head. Your heart and your crippled brain tries to fight in vain. Your empire will fall apart, and you'll know we're out there, swatted lies in the making, your empire for the taking, can't hold on or life won't change." This is more or less the modus operandi of the Phantom Thieves. They're here, they're dangerous, they're here to change your heart, and they will give you a taste of your own meds as they steal your desires straight from you, and your empire will fall apart as you fight in vain. And they can't hold on to how things are, or stay stagnant, or life won't change, so they will steal your heart, as it says in the final lines. And our voices rang out, took off the mask to feel free, fought it out in the debris, now we know life will change. With the deed done, they now know life will change. So let's go over a little bit of the fight with Kamoshida. Since we're going to be talking about boss fight mechanics, let's go over the general gameplay additions Persona 5 made to the Persona formula. And then we'll move over to the specifics of how they're used in the boss fight. In terms of general gameplay changes from other Persona games, Persona 5 in general introduced some things to fit the Phantom Thief theming, namely the cover system gameplay. Generally, in a Persona game, you don't have a way to consistently get an ambush since you usually have to go to the back of an enemy, but in Persona 5, you can actively take cover in order to generally guarantee ambushes. This was done more for feel reasons than balance reasons, at least that's what I think, since it does make it so you will have a disproportional amount of ambushes, and the developers have to go out of their way to have areas or forced encounters to make it so you have a normal amount of non-ambush fights. The rest of the gameplay changes are more done for mechanical reasons, rather than straight thematic ones, which is normal and fine. Generally, the big changes are 1. Having the entire party with you in the dungeon and being able to swap them out at any time before battle, and during battle with certain perks from Confidants. This is pretty huge, as other Persona titles you'll be forced to leave certain party members in the dust and just pick the ones you like the most to use. I like this method since it makes the Phantom Thieves more of a cohesive team unit, since everyone is usable and evenly leveled due to XP being available to everyone, instead of several people being left behind in the dungeon and being massively underleveled. Baton Pass is the other big mechanic introduced, and it's mostly done for speeding up of general gameplay, especially during normal encounters, as it generally makes it so you can wipe out most enemies in one turn if your fastest character has access to a weakness, as you could just swap characters around until they're all knocked down and then do an all-out attack to wipe them out. This makes general encounters faster on average than other Persona games, though there are builds in basically every Persona game to insta-wipe. There are also some other changes in the form of new elements, new attack types, as well as the ability to do technicals to give more utility to status moves, as well as other mixtures of statistical and miscellaneous changes all over the place. Regardless, this is not going to be a comprehensive overview of every difference. I just wanted to give you a few examples. Now let's go over the specifics of boss fights. So this is the simplest boss fight of the bunch, as it should be. As we said before, this is more or less the tutorial palace. There are a bunch of things they want to teach you with this boss fight to keep in mind for future dungeons. And while all future boss fights are unique, it is teaching you some general concepts that you'll want to keep in mind for the future. One of the largest ones is the super attacks from bosses that need to be guarded or you will be wiped, as well as getting you comfortable with the mechanic of sending one of your party members out in order to get an advantage at the cost of losing one of your party members temporarily for a short time. For this fight in particular, you'll be guarding his massive volleyball strike, as well as using the send out party member mechanic in order to take off his crown to weaken him during one of his phases. The starting point of the fight is the cup. They make it so it's impossible to damage Kamoshida in any meaningful way before the cup is destroyed. So you'll learn that you need to pay attention to the elements of the fight in order to proceed, because without the cup being destroyed, Kamoshida will just fill up his HP to full. Later in the fight, you're also given the choice between targeting Kamoshida to hopefully get him before he gets another spike off, or targeting Suzui. In most circumstances, the correct answer is targeting Suzui, so he can't spam spike. That again is teaching you to respect the gimmick. In terms of theming, the developers went a long way into making sure the boss looked as demonic as possible, going into the theme of lust wherever they could, and the theme of abuse as well. In order to tap into abuse, they have him use his slaves to do most of his attacks. They also lay a bit into the excess of it all by having him drink wine and have fancy forks. This is all to lean into the image of him as a demonic, debaucherous king of lust. They also tied into the theme further via his incredibly long tongue and the fact that inside his wine glass you can see a little on inside it where you would normally find ice. The cup as well was also full of female legs that he was eating for recovery. Anyways, after you finally defeat him, the following sequence plays.
Do you want to finish him off? It's your call.
No, please wait. I beg you. Just forgive me.
Shut up. I bet everyone told you the same. But you took everything from them!
I accept defeat. You want this? Take it. Go ahead and finish me off. You do that, and my real self will go down too. You have that right, since you've won.
On! If his mind shuts down, he can't admit his crimes.
You're kind, Lady An.
I've lost. You're through when you lose. What am I supposed to do now?
You tell Kamoshida to atone for his sins.
Alright. I will leave now and return to my real self. I'll make certain.
This encounter was a core moment for An. As you can see in the scene, she has to fight the temptation to end Kamoshida, and only cools down when she realizes that if he is ended here, he cannot confess to his crimes, and the suffering her friend was caused will never be able to be properly recognized. This underlines just how much this entire encounter meant to her, as it drove her to this extreme. After that, we get the escape sequence that follows the end of every palace, as they collapse due to the stealing of the treasure. The following days leading up to the deadline are filled with jitters as the characters aren't quite sure what will happen with Kamoshida. The game decides to mostly convey this to us, either via conversations with your party members or other notable people in the morning as you're traveling to school, or via text chains sent to you by the characters on most days. They do this to help you stay connected with the main story even when you're doing optional material while waiting for the deadline to come. About said optional material, we're gonna leave most of the confidant talk until future videos covering the later parts of the game, as I want to keep them all in a dedicated section for organizational reasons, as we're going to be talking about all the social links at once, rather than trying to spread them out, like they are in the actual game, as I don't have a definitive way to spread them out, as it's ultimately optional what order you do them in. For Kasumi and Maruki in particular, we will be roping in certain plot events that happen during their story into this discussion. So if I skip over some events that include them in Royal, it's because we're going to discuss them later when they are relevant. We will also be leaving out optional material focused on getting social stats from the videos as well. This is an important part of the Persona formula, but it's a fairly self-evident part of it. It doesn't really need a deep dive about it. We'll talk about some distinct activities, but for the most part, we're going to be leaving them out. This also goes for general moment-to-moment combat and fusion as well. We're going to talk about some aspects as we did before, but we'll only talk about the stuff that's especially relevant to the themes. Now, let's wrap up Kamoshida. So what did we see here? Kamoshida is often hailed as one of the better villains in the game. Why? There's a couple of reasons. The situation he creates is deeply relatable. It's a situation most people on this planet are unfortunately likely to run into at some point in their lives. This makes it highly cathartic for players to take him down. It's a situation they recognize as deplorable, someone they would like to see gone. So the entire experience gets them a deep sense of fulfilling justice by taking down a truly irredeemable man. The stakes are also highly personal for An and Ryuji, so the player feels motivated to help out their new friends with their problems. All this makes it a perfect starting point for these characters, as this is a type of situation that would realistically catalyze a group of students into action. None of the other villains in the game would be people that would provoke this kind of spontaneous rebellion from a student. In fact, for the next target, the game is very clear that they only find him because they're explicitly looking for a new person to take down, someone bigger, so they become known. But right here, right now, the mission of the Phantom Thieves is a personal one. It's about revenge and justice for themselves and their friends specifically. So personal that An almost ended him. For them, there is no universe where they wouldn't fight back given the power to do so, because Kamoshida is a powerful call to wake up, and get out there, because there is no other way life would change. And once the deadline hits, they'll learn whether their venture was a success.
I thought of this school as my own castle. There were even students that I sentenced to expulsion, simply because I didn't like them. I will, of course, rescind those. I am truly sorry for putting innocent youths through such horrible acts. I am an arrogant, shallow, and shameful person. No, I'm worse than that.
This is a moment of catharsis and victory for the Phantom Thieves. Their worst fears didn't come to pass, and stealing the treasure actually worked. Everything played out beautifully. They plan a party celebrating by selling Kamoshida's treasure, the source of his delusion, an Olympic medal. It seems that the glory he gained in sports eventually led to his view of himself as an untouchable king who could do whatever he likes. They would take down the people like him, and so they began planning their next move. It worked so well this time. With the powers given to them, it only feels right to continue.
Another world in which people's distorted cognitions take shape? Stealing treasure to change hearts? And on top of that, a talking cat told you all this.
You tell Sai to believe what she will.
Honestly speaking, that all sounds absurd. It's hard to believe that this is even worth listening to. Still, it can't be considered nonsense when parts of it align with Kamoshida's confession. The same goes for the testimonies of the officers who arrested you. But so be it. At any rate, you mentioned something more important. These two other accomplices, besides this talking cat thing that appeared in your story. From what you've been telling me, they're students at the same school, aren't they?
Yusei Tasai, perhaps.
Perhaps? Don't take me for a fool. Very well, I'll leave it at that. Let's continue on. The questioning's not over anyway. If you are making this up, the cracks in your story will prove it. The next to receive a calling card was this individual, a master of Japanese arts, Ichiryusai Madarame. It's even more incomprehensible than Kamoshida as to why this man was targeted. Where did you come to know him? And how did you learn of his crimes when you weren't a victim of them? Start by telling me what you all schemed.
Mishima, in his free time, had created a fan site known as the Phantom Aficionado website, or the fan site. In it, people could post requests for changes of heart to the Phantom Thieves. These requests were usually for small-time criminals, the type that would not have palaces, but there was a place you could find them. Mementos, the palace of the general public. Morgana told you to think of it as the collective unconscious, and reminded you that this place would be core to helping him restore his memories. Because deep inside Mementos, at its core, something important was hiding. Hopefully something that would help you unlock Morgana's memory. So it was imperative that you make your way deeper into Mementos to both help your friend and discover the secrets it hides. It seems that as the general public became more aware of your presence, deeper sections of Mementos became unlocked to you. Perhaps because you gave the public hope, and this resulted in them opening their hearts to you. Therefore, you were allowed deeper inside. Knowing this, it would mean that in order to get deeper inside, your next target would have to be even bigger than Kamoshida. But for now, the best you could do is hunt targets forwarded to you on the fan site. One such target was an obsessive stalker, which you easily took down. However, while you're changing his heart, this person wouldn't stop talking about this Madarame fellow, saying that you should target him instead. You didn't think much of the encounter at the time, and figured he was just using it as an excuse to shift the blame. Then, one day, An spots a stalker. It turns out to be an art student named Yusuke Titagawa. He more or less begs An to be a model for his next art piece, and offers you tickets to his master Madarame's exhibit. To hopefully convince you it'd be worth volunteering. You take up the offer to see the exhibit, and find the art displayed there to be incredibly diverse in style. It's absolutely unbelievable one person can produce art in such variety. However, during the exhibit, Madarame brags about his humble home. He calls it a shack. This triggers a memory in Ryuji. Once you're back in the meeting spot, Ryuji shows you all a post from the fan site. He says, upon hearing what Madarame says, he thinks this post might actually be about him. If the post is true, apparently he's abusing his students and even plagiarizing all their art for his own purposes. You agree it seems suspicious, and it turns out that An does actually have the address to Madarame's atelier, as Yusuke gave it to her in hopes that she would volunteer to be his model. So you decide to actually go there in order to investigate the validity of these claims. The next day, as you arrive to the atelier, you end up interrogating Yusuke about it, but he denies everything, calling all of your arguments plainly ridiculous. As the argument heats up, Madarame even pops in to calm down Yusuke, saying that it's completely understandable to be suspicious of him, saying that even he would doubt someone as old and cranky as he is could be liked by everyone. The amount of seeming humility from this remark threw you off. Perhaps the rumors aren't true? However, later on, you pull up the nav to check to see if he has a palace anyways. After all, the comment says that he wears a fake face for the public, only to find out that you already have a hit. It turns out that you had already accidentally said the keywords. This man very much does have a palace. While investigating inside the palace, you find the most odd thing. Portraits of tons of people lined up, with the final one being Yusuke himself. All these pictures must be of Madarame's pupils. Further in the palace, you find a certain piece of art.
Look at this.
The Infinite Spring? A conglomerate work of art that the great director Madarame created with his own funds. These individuals must offer their ideas to the director for the rest of their lives. Those who cannot do so have no worth living? Hey, this is most likely about the plagiarism, right?
Damn it, what a phony geezer.
In other words, his pupils are his property. He doesn't even qualify as an artist if this is true. He's stealing the ideas from talented students in exchange for securing their livelihood. I wondered about those portraits on display. They must all be his pupils through his cognition. This even says that they have no worth. Couldn't this be about the abuse? Madarame will keep them around as long as they're useful to him. But the moment they're not...
He's treating them like slaves or tools.
Why is Yusuke keeping quiet about this? He's got no reason to cover this up.
He did say that he owes Madarame his life for being taken in.
But still.
When we were at the exhibit, I praised one of the pieces on display. But Kitagawa-kun acted strange. Maybe that piece was plagiarized too.
What's the call? Ain't this enough to target Madarame?
You tell Ryuji, let's do this.
That's what I'm talking about!
Hold on, you two. We should confirm these facts with Yusuke once more.
The words on the plaque say it all. It confirms the truth behind the post online. With proof in hand, you decide to confront Yusuke again. During your confrontation, you are able to get him to admit some things, such as the fact that that painting you saw there, that he reacted to, was indeed his own, and that he did need to produce a painting for his master, or else there would be complications. But during your exchange, Yusuke was able to use the situation against you and entrap you. And now, unless On does the nude model, you're under threat of arrest. He gives you a strict deadline in a small amount of time. Fresh out of options, you choose to leave for the day. However, on your way out of the atelier, you run into a journalist who's staking out Madarame's house. It seems that you're not the only one that caught on to the rumors. You decide to not give her any information for now, but you do accept her business card. She tells you to call her if you have any information. And with that out of the way, you head on home. That night, after the confrontation, you receive a second nail in the coffin. Mishima calls you, asking if there's any way you can meet up with a person who had a change of heart recently, because they say they have information about someone who should have a change of heart as well. The meeting is set to be with that stalker that you took down earlier in Mementos, one that had mentioned a certain name.
I'd like to ask again. Please, make Madarame have a change of heart. Not only for me. It's to save the life of another man as well.
You ask him what he means by save their life.
Even now, there's still one young man remaining under Madarame's tutelage. I think he's about your age.
That has to be Yusuke.
Not only is he a talented artist, he also owes Madarame for taking him in after his mother passed. He is the perfect target.
So Yusuke's got no choice but to listen.
I actually spoke to him a few times back when I was still living at Madarame's. I asked him if he found it painful to stay with Madarame. And you know what he said? If I could leave, I would.
And now you had a second witness to Madarame's crimes. And with his testimony in hand, you could see all too clearly the actual danger Yusuke was in. He had said earlier that there would be inconveniences if he didn't produce a piece in time. Yusuke was likely downplaying the consequences. Regardless of the debt he personally felt for the man, it was clear that for Yusuke's sake, Madarame's heart needed to be changed. Even if he hadn't accepted that fact himself. Remember your bonds. For both Yusuke's sake and On's, you need to take Madarame's heart before the deadline. You head back to Madarame's palace, his museum of vanity, a museum in honor of himself, a museum in honor of a thief. You progress further into the palace until you eventually reach a barrier. You're unsure of how to pass it at first until Mona notices that it looks a lot like a locked door in Madarame's house. If you could just get Madarame to see it open with you inside, it might change his cognition enough to open it in this world. You concoct a plan. On would have to volunteer to be a nude model after all, as a distraction. Of course, she would not have to actually do the modeling part, she would only have to distract Yusuke long enough to get the job done. Unfortunately, it's the only way that Yusuke would ever let you back into the home. It would be up to An and Morgana to get that door open in time. In the meantime, you and Ryuji would be waiting in the metaverse for the door to open. The plan worked, but with a snag. Madarame called the police on An and Yusuke, forcing them to escape into the metaverse. Shortly thereafter, the entire party meets up, with Yusuke in tow. However, as you enter the room with the infinite spring, you are approached by Madarame's shadow, alongside several guards. During your encounter with Madarame, Yusuke is able to get a few words out of him. He tells Yusuke that it would be unwise to rise against him, because if he tried, he would use his powers to make sure that Yusuke would get nowhere in the art world. After all, no one can rise with his word holding them down. This is part of the reason why he found it easy to exploit the futures of children who cannot fight back. He would always be on the top. He was the god of the art world. And he would use his status, as he has always, a tool to gain money and fame. The value of art is purely an illusion he could easily provide to customers by exploiting those below him. As the conversation draws near its close, Madarame calls his guards closer. You are cornered and running out of time. This might be the end of the line. The key to victory lies in the truth you and your friends grasped.
How amusing.
Huh?
It seems the truth is stranger than fiction, huh?
Kitagawa-kun?
I wanted to believe it wasn't true. I had clouded my vision for so long. My eyes were truly blind. Blind and unable to see the true self behind this one horrible man.
Have you finally come to your senses? How foolishly you averted your eyes from the truth. A deplorable imitation indeed. Best you part from that aspect of yourself. Let us now forge a contract. I am thou, thou art I. The world is filled with both beauty and vice. It is time you teach people which is which.
Very well. Come! Goemon! A breathtaking sight. Imitations they may be, but together they make a fine spectacle. Though the flowers of evil blossom, be it known, abominations are fated to perish!
Whoa, this is impressive!
Who do you think you are? The price for your insolence will be death! Where are my guards? Kill them all!
The children who adored you as father. The prospects of your pupils. How many did you trample upon? How many dreams did you exchange for riches? No matter what it takes, I will bring you to justice!
You ask Yusuke to show you what he's made of.
Very well, bring it on!
Dressed all in gold, every ounce of humility gone, here you have a man wrapped in vanity, abusing the art world for his own gain. Madarame is no artist. He's a con man who steals others' works and has robbed the futures of countless young students. What Yusuke has to fight is what he's been hiding from all this time. He knew he was being exploited, but he viewed Madarame as a father and a teacher. It's a lot harder to admit how he was being used. But when confronted with the truth this time, he would embrace the spirit of rebellion and fight back against this mockery of an artist. He would hide from the truth no longer. And with Yusuke's help, you are going to take down this fake for good. Alright, so let's zoom out a little and talk about the design of the palace in general. Let's first talk about the palace's song. It's called A Woman. It's important in this case as the woman it's referring to is actually Sayuri, the painting Madarame is quote-unquote famous for. When we interpret it in this way, we can see what each section of the song is. I think the first section has that same regal, calm feeling of prestige the painting has. It's also a very slow song with lots of fancy instruments to feel more vain and thoughtful. This thoughtful, slow pace helps it tie into the mystery of Sayuri's expression. The second section mixes it in with a lot of industrial, repetitive sounds, as well as shortening the loop of the music in order to give it the feeling of being mass-produced, as this is the painting guessing section where you have to guess which of the paintings are fake. This ties into the fact that Madarame was mass-producing fake copies of Sayuri to sell. The locked door we mentioned earlier is of interest as well. This is where the developers introduced the idea of cognitive barriers, or midway blocks featured in some palaces that have to be solved before you can move forward, though they are not always necessarily midway. It's there to introduce how you can change a person's cognition in the real world in order to progress further in the metaverse. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the developers don't use this consistently the same way throughout the whole game. They change it depending on the arc, but the most consistent use is to give the characters an excuse to wait for the palace's titular character to show up, or for an important story beat to take place. The main reason it exists is to show a greater connection between the mental world and the real one, to emphasize that the world is made from someone's cognition and that it's ultimately malleable. This palace, being a museum, has a lot of puzzles focused on paintings. The first set is a simple navigation puzzle based on walking through framed paintings. The second set later on is a thematic counterfeit guessing game that gets harder as it goes along. There's also a laser puzzle earlier in the dungeon that's mostly there to introduce the concept of treasure demons to you and give you the opportunity to have some fights with limited party members in order to shake up the combat formula. Thematically, this palace is all about vanity, the overuse of gold everywhere, the large crowds admiring his work at the front. This all gives you the idea of robbing from a high-end exhibit. This is a museum heist of the highest caliber through and through. Once you reach the treasure room, you will find that your party has access to the most elaborate heist setup the game has to offer, with things like being able to lower yourself via a crane, shutting off the security, and so forth. Now that you've found it, it's time to send the calling card. This time, you choose to plaster it all over his art exhibit, where he cannot miss it. And when you arrive back in the gaudy Museum of Vanity, you will find that it's just like with Kamoshida. The palace is covered in blaring red light. Life Will Change is playing, and it's time to steal his heart. What's interesting is this is the only time in the game where you'll actually get to interact while stealing the treasure, giving it a full-on daring museum getaway heist vibe. Alas, you get caught because Morgana can't help himself and needs to look at the treasure, drawn in by his attraction to human desires. What they find, though, is not what they expected. The treasure is a counterfeit, and a trap is laid. You barely escape as Madarame's shadow approaches you. During the course of your conversation, though, he offers you a look at the genuine article, his actual treasure, the real Sayuri. It was a portrait from Yusuke's mother, a final gift to her future son. It turns out the mysterious expression was love all along. In Madarame's quest for money, he had managed to completely distort the original meaning of the piece. The changes to the piece did end up accomplishing the goal Madarame wanted in the first place, though. The critics all said the same thing. It truly did gain him all the money and fame he sought after. The complete distortion of meaning is of no consequence to him. After all, art is nothing but a tool for him. But once he's done with that tool, Madarame usually disposes of it. As such, Yusuke asks him one final question.
I've heard that you destroy your art once they outlive their usefulness. Did that include my mother as well?
She just so happened to have a seizure in front of me. That's when a thought crossed my mind. If I don't call for help and leave her be, I could obtain her painting without any strings attached.
No. You let her die?
She was physically weak. No one would doubt if she just dropped dead because of a seizure. Above all, Yusuke, didn't you think it was odd that I discovered your talent when you were only 3? The reason why I kept you around was to keep you from realizing the truth behind Sayuri.
You killed her.
The artistic talents you inherited from your mother were a delightful miscalculation, though. If I'm to steal ideas, it's much easier robbing the future of brats who won't talk back than adults. It's thanks to you that I came up with the idea. You have my gratitude.
Yusuke?
I thank you, Madarame. Every reason for me to forgive you has disappeared without a trace at this very moment. You aren't some rotten artist. You're a despicable fiend who wears the skin of an artist.
All you good-for-nothings barging into my museum and doing whatever the hell you want. Those who have the connections make the rules. Those who don't, follow them. Not to mention, the value of art is all subjective. I make the rules of the art scene. I am the supreme being. I am the god of the art world.
This isn't good. Get back!
Madarame's shadow had mentioned it earlier when you faced him first, but in this exchange, he doubled down. The value of art is all subjective, and therefore worthless. And as the god of the art world, that worth is entirely up to him, and him alone. As its god, it is his right to be able to exploit it as he sees fit for gain. With such status and fame, he found it easy to exploit the futures of children. After all, they had no real way to fight back against him. These youth became his infinite spring, those that must offer their ideas for the rest of their lives, or they would have no worth. Any who defied him would find their careers destroyed by the god of the art world. Without the approval of their god, they could never find success. And this was the true nature of the monster that stood before them, the man they needed to fight. And so begins the Madarame boss fight. What's interesting here is how the fight tries to incorporate the theme of the palace. The first phase is against a 5-piece painting. Each section has a different weakness, and some absorb certain damage tags. You have to take them all down at once to progress. So if even one is left, they'll forge a new one. This forces you to think strategically about your damage output and gives you a little taste of the forgery theme through gameplay. The second phase is against different elemental clones of Madarame. The fight is mostly about teaching you how to chain weaknesses and manage damage, while also thematically representing forgery through the boss mechanics. In both phases, we have Madarame cloning his work. Whenever a painting goes down, he forges another. And in the second phase, we have a bunch of clones of Madarame in different elements, but at the core, they're all Madarame. In this way, he's always derivative. This is what I meant when I said the mechanics play into the theme. And when you finally defeat Madarame, you see him crawling on the floor, begging for his life. It was a truly pathetic display, much like Kamoshida's in fact. In the end, the only excuse the con man had for himself was the same reason he got in this mess in the first place. A desire for gain, a desire for money. He attempted to appeal to the idea of the suffering a poor artist can endure. His excuse being that he wanted to escape that life. But whether or not Madarame ever truly lived such a life, it never gave him the right to exploit others and steal the futures of many children in order to prop himself up as some sort of god of the art world. But in what was otherwise a pathetic display from a fake was an interesting tidbit from Madarame. There's another man in a black mask? As much as you want to know more, there's no time to dwell on it. The palace is collapsing fast. You have to escape. Once you finally arrive back in safety at the usual place, you decide to take some time to digest what just happened.
The Sayuri.
You're not gonna get all teary-eyed and say stuff like, Mom, are ya?
To think that this painting was the source of Madarame's distorted desires. The only saving grace is that my mother won't know of what transpired.
The genuine painting at his atelier has been altered after all. Ironic as it may be, this one here is her true self-portrait now.
It's a wonderful painting. And although it took some time, it's in your hands now, Yusuke.
I'm thankful for it. However, it's impossible for this painting to be acknowledged by society anymore.
You remark that it's not necessarily a bad thing.
You may be right. Seeing my mother's expression here, it's doubtful that she would have wished for fame. So, this is my mother. There's no way that I would remember her face clearly, but I was right about the rush of emotion I felt when I saw this painting.
The real painting of his mother that inspired him to become a painter was returned to Yusuke, thanks to your endeavors. It wasn't the original goal of changing his heart, but it allowed Yusuke to reclaim something he didn't know he was robbed of, but he knew in his heart was important. He seems truly appreciative, yet torn, that the world will never know its true beauty. But in lieu of that, it can remain the personal gift it was always meant to be, a painting of a mother's love for her son. In the end, Yusuke decides to join your cause, to hopefully give courage to those suffering from those who would abuse their powers, and further his pursuit of the arts as well. You head back to your room that night, and you are visited again by Igor. Igor unfortunately had no useful information about the other metaverse user, other than, according to him, that you will run into him eventually, and that you are one step closer to rehabilitation, whatever that means. Now, you just have to wait for the day of the deadline, and see if the monster of vanity confesses just like Kamoshida. Once again, nervousness pervades the team. Even though they succeeded last time, they're not entirely confident it will work out right this time. But eventually the day of the deadline comes, and so does the confession.
What's up with that old geezer?
Is he crying?
I have committed crimes that are unbecoming of an artist. Plainly put, I plagiarized work. I tainted this country's art world and even Sayuri. How could I possibly apologize to everyone for what I've done?
This time, the confession was broadcast on national television. This means your name will become more widely known. Hopefully, this newfound popularity can perhaps give some hope to the many. Madarame represents a lot of things. The exploitation of youth, the difficulty of rebelling against someone close to you, the corruption of the art world, and the grifters who steal from others and pose as creators. But today, you have taken the beast of vanity down, and the farce he was is no more. You celebrate your victory and set about finding your next target.
So after Shiho Suzui, you did it again for someone you barely knew? You were sent away twice, almost reported to the police, and yet you still wanted to save him. Moreover, you ended up in a museum instead of a castle this time. You're still going to maintain this rubbish about changing someone's heart by stealing their treasure?
You tell Sai to take it how she will.
Very well. The truth behind this tale of yours will be clear once your conspirators are in custody. Now then, tell me about this new member who joined your group. There's no point in being stubborn. It will only damage your position. The identity of Madarame's pupil can be easily discovered with a little investigation.
You say to Sai that she can go ahead and try.
So you won't sell out your accomplice? Fine. There's still much more that I want to hear. It was around this time that the Phantom Thieves began to truly gain popularity. Lies flooded the internet. Things like the Phantom Thieves saved me too, or I got a calling card. For heaven's sake, those lies made the collection of intel take almost 10 times longer. Now your next target was this man, Junya Kaneshiro. He doesn't compare to the previous two. Even the police had been struggling to apprehend him. So, exactly how did you take down such a well-guarded criminal? Tell me.
Your popularity has soared. The fansite poll is starting to show that more and more people are becoming aware of you. As the general public becomes more aware of you, you're granted deeper and deeper access to mementos. As such, your goal of exploring deeper in mementos and giving hope to the many coincides. Madarame was pretty well known, so to top that, you would have to aim even higher. However, trouble is brewing at school. The student council president is sticking her nose where it doesn't belong, seeming awfully interested in you and your friends. She was determined to find the Phantom Thieves and was seemingly turned on to the task by the principal. It only makes sense for that to be the case, as she is his puppet. But as long as one of you doesn't slip, she could never prove anything. After all, your methods leave no trace. If only Ryuji weren't an idiot, you wouldn't have the student council president staring you down with blackmail in hand. What she wants, though, is not quite what you expected. She wants you to prove your justice by taking down a criminal even the police cannot nail down. Normally, this would be a prime target for you, but there's a snag. Makoto, Miss Student Council President herself, doesn't actually have any information to work with. No name, no leads. She only knows that some of the students in the school are currently being held victim of his criminal schemes. And not only does she have virtually zero information for you to work with, but she gives you a deadline that is incredibly tight. The task you were given is seemingly impossible, but she has you got. So you're going to have to try anyways. You start by trying to track down the students who are being exploited. Perhaps you can get some information from them. After successfully pinning down one of those students, you finally get him to give you just a little bit of information. He tells you that he got the job on Central Street. People approached him asking if he wanted an easy part-time job. So you scour the streets, interviewing anyone you can to find a lead. You find some people who were definitely connected while doing so. Unfortunately, they caught on and didn't give you any useful information, not falling for any of the traps Makoto set. You leave dejected and unsure of what to do next. You gather together to discuss what you can do next. During that conversation, you have the idea to contact that journalist you met at Madarame's atelier. Perhaps she would have more information. You message her in hopes of setting up a meeting. The next day, you get a text back. She will meet you at the crossroads, located in the nightlife district of Shinjuku. The next day, you and Ryuji head out to meet her. Ryuji unfortunately forgot to not bring his school uniform, so only you head inside to talk to her. In the course of your conversation, you're able to strike up a deal with her, which results in her giving you the name you need, Junya Kaneshiro. The next day, you set about finding the keywords and entering the palace. The session leads to a chilling revelation. Kaneshiro thinks of the whole of Shibuya as his bank. Upon entering the metaverse, the picture only grows more twisted. The people in the city are all just ATMs, many broken down. You can see heaps of ATMs just lying on top of each other in spots. You can only assume these are his victims. Soon you go searching for the palace itself. When you do find it, it only makes the impossibility of your task all the more apparent. It's floating several feet above the ground, completely inaccessible to you. For all your powers, you cannot yet fly. You are completely stumped as to any way to reach it. To find out more, you would have to somehow meet Kaneshiro. Later, while meeting with your friends, Makoto comes to check in on your progress.
We ain't got nothing.
Are we out of luck? It's no fair his palace is up in the sky.
If only we could contact the real Kaneshiro.
What do you want?
Nothing in particular. I just saw you all together here.
Huh, that's so.
You seem to be having quite a bit of trouble.
So you're here to check up on us? You may be the student council president, but when it comes to what we do, you're useless.
Useless?
Right now, you're useless to me. All you do is eat away at my life.
To be frank, yes.
Just stay on your high horse and watch. Or do you want to eavesdrop since you're so good at it?
So you wish to get in contact with Kaneshiro? That is what you were just discussing, weren't you? It seemed you just needed to find out where he is.
You say to Makoto that, yeah, you need something like that.
Hey, you don't gotta answer her honestly.
So you're just the good girl type to push over.
Right now, you're useless to me.
I'm not.
What was that?
Fine. I'll help you meet Kaneshiro.
The words seemed to snap something in Makoto, and she remarked that she will get you that meeting with Kaneshiro. And she runs off. Remember your bonds. You're not quite sure what she has planned, but whatever it is, it's probably not good. So you attempt to follow her. You hurry down to Central Street, where she's most likely to be. No matter how hard you look though, she's nowhere to be found. That is, until you receive a phone call. She tells you to stay on the line and listen, as well as recording the call. You then hear her talking with some other people on the other side of the phone. She's demanding that they straight up take her to Kaneshiro, and threatening to call the police if they do not comply. You recognize the danger in what she's doing and rush to try to find her. Unfortunately, you find her seconds after she's been already dragged inside a car that's taken off. Luckily, Yusuke was able to record the license plate number of the car you need to follow, so Ryuji quickly hails a taxi so you can track her down.
Nijima-san! What the hell'd you do to her?
Oh, I get it. You got followed, you dumb shits!
Holy moly!
That bag you saw the other day, the crocodile one, how much was it?
About 3 million. Ah! For reals?
Better thank those guys.
What?
I'm royally pissed right now. Can you tell? You know how spending money relieves stress? It's you goddamn brats sniffing around like dogs and barging in here like you own the joint. See this empty space? I'm so pissed that now there's a 3 million yen gap here. It pisses me off even more if I don't fill it up. I'm a perfectionist. So, good luck.
What is that supposed to mean?
Come on, you all look so tense. I think I'll call it debauchery of minors at a club. So, can I send this to your school?
That's...
Oh damn, I got booze and cigs in the shot. Maybe some drugs too. Ah, this is so hilarious. I feed on dumb shits like you. Understand, pretty little student council president. Now listen up. Run your mouth to the police, and I'll break all of you, starting with your families. I want to give you the usual month, but well, you have such a large group here. 3 weeks. Bring 3 million yen by then, no less. Summer bonuses are around the corner, you know. It'll be easy if you beg your mommies and daddies. Now get out of my sight. I'm about to have some fun.
What? To hell with that!
Don't bother with him. Makoto's safety is more important right now.
Makoto seems genuinely remorseful. Her impulsiveness has gotten you trapped in deep shit. She laments that she was just trying to be useful, but that she is now an even greater burden on her sister. She apologizes for doing nothing about Kamoshida as she spirals into despair. She carried the expectations of so many. Her sister, who was the lone breadwinner in her family, would be devastated by this. Makoto was already under great pressure to excel, in order to be able to land a good job and help her sister with the finances. To her sister, Makoto was nothing more than a useless leech at the moment. At the school as well, she felt a great responsibility to succeed. It was the same responsibility to succeed that the principal exploited to be able to use her earlier. And now she feels an even greater responsibility towards the students of the school to make right where she went wrong with Kamoshida and fix this problem. More than anything else, she just wants to be useful, to be able to right the wrongs that she has seen around her, to be able to uphold her own justice. The justice she hoped would be reflected in the Phantom Thieves. And in this moment, her impulsiveness messed it up for everyone. Then Ryuji laments, "If only we could do something about the bank." Everyone reacts with shock that Ryuji would say that in front of Makoto. But then Mona gets an idea. Maybe Makoto isn't useless after all. They can use her to enter the bank, as they would now be considered Kaneshiro's customers, with Makoto being his foremost one. By bringing her into the metaverse, you might be able to do it. And after explaining to her what on earth is going on, she catches on and agrees to be the bait for the bank. Thankfully, your gambit worked, and the bank comes down to meet you. When you enter the palace, Kaneshiro was even willing to speak with you. The expectations of the Shadow are anything but subtle. Even his quote-unquote means to help you out of your situation is alone with an astronomical rate of interest. He reveals the true nature of his interest in Makoto. It turns out that he knows that she is the sister of the prosecutor Sainijima, and he plans to exploit that connection. When Ryuji threatens back that he better be ready because you're going to steal his heart, he says, "Don't make me laugh. I will rob you of life just as easily as I can breathe. People will do anything for money." As if he was summoning them with that money, guards start to spawn in by the dozens. Anytime you finish off one group of guards, another one pops in. The reinforcements are endless. This is likely because when one goes down, you can simply hire a new one. People will do anything for money. And Kaneshiro has a lot of it. You have no choice but to pick the earliest opportunity and run. You head towards the entrance, only to find more guards there, and Kaneshiro's shadow waiting for you. This might be the end of the line. The key to victory lies in the truth you and your friends grasped.
Please stop!
Oh, I wouldn't damage an asset like you. They're dead men walking, but you'll be just fine. Your sister is quite a beauty, though. I'll make sure to make her my personal slave. Once I get bored, I'll just sell her off. Oh, poor sis. She could have been successful, if only her younger sister wasn't so dumb.
My sister has nothing to do with this!
Then you better start taking customers tomorrow. All you gotta do is endure it, and do as you're told.
Endure it. Do as I'm told.
You'll earn 3 million yen in no time. Although your life and everything along with it will be a complete wreck by then.
I've been listening to you go on and on. Shut your damn mouth, you money-grubbing asshole!
Huh?
Have you decided to tread the path of strife?
Yes. Come to me!
Very well. Let us proceed with our contract at once. I am thou. Thou art I. You have finally found your own justice. Please, never lose sight of it again. This memorable day marks your graduation from your false self.
What the hell?
A persona?
No, dude. That's a bike.
I can feel it. Myself. me! Got it!
Wow! Nice! What is that? I've never seen anything like it.
You better earn your keep, or else I'll kill you!
I will not lose heart again. Ever. I'll go full speed, non-stop. Right, Johanna?
Makoto was done. Done blindly doing what she was told. Done being the perfect model of what society expected of her. She embraced her spirit of rebellion and found her own justice. She was going to act on what she believed. She would hold tight to the importance of her convictions, and as long as she did that, she would never again be useless. She would use this fire in her heart to burn ablaze through Kaneshiro's empire of greed. From now on, she would go full speed, non-stop, until her justice was fulfilled. She would never let herself lose heart again. Alrighty, so let's zoom out a little to talk about the mechanics of the palace. Let's start with the music, which is playing over right now. So this first version of Price is a little more peppy and upbeat than the previous two palace songs. I think it's to convey the high stakes of a bank heist and that of the exchange of money. But as you get deeper into the palace, particularly in the vault, the song changes to be more of a feeling of being deep inside the inner workings of the vault itself in the core, as this is the more secure part of the palace you're breaking into, the core vault. This is one of the palaces where the other version of it is more different from the original, to clearly differentiate between the bank portions of the palace and the vault portion. As to the design of the palace itself, as mentioned previously, it has two distinct portions, the bank and the vault. The bank is designed and laid out to give the feeling of a high security place that needs to be picked apart by targeting different keycards in order to get into deeper portions of it. A lot of the palace is fairly accessible, but will be locked by both keycards or guards you have to take down in portions of it. As you get access to those keycards and take down those guards, you are allowed further in. Once you get into the vault, the puzzles change. Now it becomes focused on code breaking, so you'll have slips of paper where you'll have to figure out what the password is by using the hints on those in order to execute simple code breaking. Each part of the vault will lead you to unlock more and more complicated codes that you have to break in order to progress. Each one of these codes has something different to do with money. After all, the place is heavily themed on greed. So a sample code might be something like coin, and each letter of that would correspond to a different number or letter that you have to memorize in order to understand what the code will be to enter deeper into the vault. As you understand each rule, you're able to apply them to breaking down what the number should be. There's also a simple wall positioning puzzle used with the gates of the vault. They allow you to access different portions, so you can eventually have them all line up in a perfectly straight line to access the heart of the safe and get to the treasure. Aesthetically and thematically, a bank works perfectly as the picture of greed. A man who's hoarding all the money and keeping it locked away for himself, and abusing it to keep himself in high places. This game pulls no punches in representing greed, with sections of it showing mountains of currency in certain places. Now, let's talk a little bit about the boss fight. So there is a couple of unique things that happen here, most of them related to money. Namely, the guards he hires at one point in the fight are hired with money. Therefore, once Kaneshiro runs out of it during the course of the fight when he starts just raining money on you, the guards will just leave after he runs out. There's also a mechanic with his super move, in which you can throw out an expensive item to distract him, which will cancel the super move and make him vulnerable in the first phase. Anyways, after you finally manage to take him down, the following cutscene plays.
Kaneshiro.
I'm not gonna let anyone have it. This is my money.
You stole it all from innocent people.
Fine. I'll call off the debt.
Fine? You're still sounding pretty condescending.
You're right. I'm a poor, ugly idiot. How am I supposed to live a normal life like this? It's all because of our society! Weak people can't lead a happy life, no matter what they do! I'm a victim too, you know? Yeah, none of this is my fault!
The more you talk, the more pathetic you sound.
I just wanted a place where I could belong! You get that, don't you?
Bullshit! All you did was surround yourself with people you could use, solely for some easy money!
And you think you're the only one who's got to deal with being labeled? Me? And all these other guys. We're all fighting against that.
But don't worry. You'll finally have a place you belong. Somewhere you can make amends. For the rest of your life.
We're gonna do something about that distorted heart of yours. Free of charge.
I'm glad you understand. Now hurry up and return to the real Kaneshiro.
Seriously? You guys don't have any tact. Especially with that incredible power. These palaces could net you loads of cash. You could do whatever you wanted to people's hearts.
We're not like you.
Where do you find meaning in that naive sense of justice? You know, there's already someone out there taking full advantage of what palaces have to offer.
What?
I'll let you in on a little something. There's a criminal using other people's palaces to accomplish whatever they damn well please. They don't care about consequences, psychotic breakdowns, mental shutdowns. Anything goes.
Is that the same person Madarame's shadow spoke of?
Spill it! Who are you talking about?
Don't even bother. You are nothing compared to them. Better be careful. A chance encounter with them could prove fatal. Apparently, Madarame wasn't kidding. There really is another person abusing the metaverse. Later on that night, when you were visited by Igor, he even suggests that you might run into him someday soon. Regardless of the danger that posed, you have found great success today. You had just taken down a major criminal syndicate. The amount of lives saved through your actions was going to be far greater than anything you've ever done before. You're slowly moving your way up, tackling the various corruptions of society. Taking down Kaneshiro was going to be a big deal. There's no way it couldn't be. Ryuji had posted the calling card all over the city. No matter how they tried to cover it up, the people would know it was your doing. And hopefully, that would indeed give the people hope. The only thing left to do is to wait for the change of heart. The day comes, and it's all over the news. Kaneshiro turned himself into the police, and people are crediting you for having caused that to happen. On the way to school, and inside the school itself, you are the talk of the town. Your calling cards are being featured on the news. Your popularity is rising, as is your message of hope and rebellion. All that's next is to celebrate your victory and decide who's your next target. But before that can happen, you have to prepare for the finals, and Makoto has one more loose thread to knock off.
Care to explain?
I believe in what I wrote. The Phantom Thieves are just.
Have you figured out who they are?
No, I'm nowhere close. However, after considering all the facts, I concluded there are no errors in their acts or principles. Thus, upon deeming them to be on the side of justice, I have decided to end my investigation.
But that's impossible.
Impossible? May I see the evidence you have that leads you to believe so?
I was just speaking to the director of a prestigious college about your letter of recommendation, too.
There will be no need for that. I intend on getting into a good college by my own merit. Please excuse me.
Hey, we're not done here!
With her chains of control broken, Makoto heads home for the night. She reflects with her sister on the nature of success and whether it's even worth it to study, considering that even when she pushes through, she will still be thrust into a competitive society. Her sister's remarks that night are revealing, She tells her in response, what else is there other than success? And when bringing up Kaneshiro's takedown, she is unhappy about how it came about, because she is unable to use the investigation for a promotion. In the end, she was not really concerned about justice. Only the advancement of her career she had changed. But even if her sister was no longer the same person, Makoto had found a place to belong. The same was true for all the Phantom Thieves. Yu, Ryuji, An, Morgana, Yusuke, Makoto, all had become outcasts of some kind, and were brought together by your spirits of rebellion in order to get back at the society that so wronged them and those they loved, to steal back that which was taken, to take down those that would abuse their power. And you were just getting started. But for now, you and the rest of your party resume your normal lives as students until you can find your next target, one that can hopefully send your message of rebellion and justice even further. And so the rising star of the Phantom Thieves has taken hold in the hearts of the people, and you were just getting started. Ruin would be avoided, and justice would be had, even if it had to be done by your hand alone. Because as a Phantom Thief, you believe one thing above all else: life will change. Thanks so much for watching. This was a doozy of a video to produce, and we're just getting started. If you would like to know when my next video goes live, please subscribe. Please give it a like as well and share it with others. Productions like this are incredibly time consuming, so any support is appreciated. Leave a comment as well. I would love to have your thoughts on it. I read all of them, and any feedback can go into improving the next part of the video. Or heck, just tell me any other games you would like me to give this treatment to as well, once I'm done with Persona 5 Royal. Anyways, I hope you have a great day and take care. Bye!